That's the Devil's Pulpit.
It looks like it could be a devil's pulpit.
We're looking at an outcrop of radiolarian chert, very resistant.
We've learned where the ancient rocks on top of the mountain came from. But what about the mountain itself? How was it made?
We always knew how old Mount Diablo was, at least approximately. We knew it couldn't be any older than 4.5 million years. So it was a lot younger than any of the rocks. The reason that we knew the age was due to a volcanic eruption that occurred about 4.5 million years ago, near Napa. Every single volcanic eruption is different. It has a different geologic fingerprint, so it can be traced by geologists. And if you go into Black Diamond Mine's Regional Preserve, it's there. It's the bright pink layer that you see as you drive into the park. It's called the Lawler Tuff, and it's tipped at about a 30-degree angle, dipping away from the summit of Mount Diablo. But when this ash erupted, it must have been laid down flat 4.5 million years ago, and then raised up at that 30-degree angle in more recent geologic times. So we know Mount Diablo couldn't be any older than the eruption itself.
Just recently, about 20 years ago, it was discovered that the San Andreas Fault is a little bit more complicated than we thought. Not only is the Pacific Plate slipping by on its way north, as it slips by, about 3.5 million years ago, it turned about 10 degrees counterclockwise. So as it slips by now, it pushes in on North America. It's 90% sliding, 10% compression. That compression has caused a whole series of new faults to develop. Underground, they're called thrust faults. A lot of them you don't see. Some of them reach the surface, some never do. They're called blind thrusts, but they're down there. It's a vertical fault with a very low angle, meaning the break is about 20 or 30 degrees above the horizontal. So deep underground, all of these thrust faults are developing. And they want to move, but they're locked together. Finally, though, these thrust faults move. And the way they move, the block of land on top of the fault moves up. The land below that fault moves down. Older rock layers are going to move up and over the younger rock layers below the fault.
On the top block, the softer, younger layers get eroded away, and you have old rock on top, just as it is on Mount Diablo.
We think there's a blind thrust fault underneath Mount Diablo, and it's been operating for probably the last 2 million years. That's one idea.
UC Davis researchers estimate that the Mount Diablo thrust fault could have a quake that measures 6.5 or more on the Richter scale every 500 years, plus or minus 250 years.
We might be due. So you go back, when was the last earthquake around here? And it was something called the Antioch quake in the late 1800s. It was 6.5. That may have been the Mount Diablo thrust fault. But it's active. Mount Diablo is still going up, and it's risen rapidly in just the last couple million years.
While things are still quiet here, let's move on to stop 9, which is at marker number 12.